Hey everybody, it's Janice with Creating Through Chaos, and we're going to start this project off with this frame from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to pull out all of the insides and the glass, and then I am going to take my antique wax and I am going to stain the whole frame, and I made sure that I got really good inside all of the little beading around the edges of the frame. So I'm just using a paintbrush to put it on kind of thick, and then I'm just going to wipe it all off with a baby wipe when I am done. And I'm using the brush to be able to get in between all of those beads. So once I had that all done, I set it aside to dry, and I had these little, I don't know, they're cups. And I think they were from Dollar Tree, but I bought a whole bag of them at a thrift store. And I think they used to have succulents in them, and they used to be magnets, but I'm not 100% sure. But there was a whole bag of these like little planter cups, and I bought them at a thrift store for $1, and I knew I could use them on some projects, so I'm going to use one on this, and I'm going to cover it in the color pink. I just did a couple of quick coats of pink on that, and then I'm going to set that aside to dry. Now I'm going to take the glass from the frame, and I'm going to put it on this scrapbook paper from Hobby Lobby and line it up so that it's even, and then trace around and then cut it out. And I'm actually going to Mod Podge this right onto the glass because the back of this frame was really flimsy for what I wanted to do. So I wanted to be able to have the glass be my, security and the good part of holding what I want it to do. So I'm just trimming that up, making sure that I get it all nice and even. And then I am going to Mod Podge that right to the glass. And I got a little bit of red paint on that, but that's okay. Wiped it off and all is good. So like I said, I'm just going to Mod Podge this right to the glass. So I'm just going to add this Mod Podge right on top and then put the paper on. And so once I have a good coat on, I'm just going to put the paper on there and then just smooth it out. And then I am going to set that aside also. And I'm going to let that dry. So everything's kind of just drying and in processes of drying while I'm doing this. So once I got those two things painted, my frame was dry. So now I'm going to paint this with the same color pink that I just did on the little cup. So I'm just going to go around making sure I get in between all of those little beads again. And this is just a really light colored pink. And I ended up doing 2 coats over this. I made sure that I got it fully covered, but I'm also not too worried about getting an absolute full coverage because I am going to sand most of it back off. So once I had it all painted with the 2 coats, as you can see, I am going to come back through and just sand off the majority of that. I just needed the 2 coats to make that pink really pop because the dark of the wax was so dark that the pink started looking like a brown. So I made sure I did 2 coats so that that wouldn't happen. And now I'm just kind of going through and sanding off in different spots all over the frame to give it that rustic look and to pull some of that antique wax back through. So I run around and did it all on the beads, on the edges of the beads, on all the edges of the frame, and just kept going until I liked the look. And as you can see, I made it look really rustic. Now I'm going to put that glass back in, and then I ended up putting the backing back on with the stand also. Now we're going to be working on this little cup, which I antique wax, which I didn't get on camera. And now I'm going to add this ribbon to the center of it. I'm just hot gluing it into place. And I did just put a little bit of antique wax around the edges of this little container. And I wiped it off with a baby wipe, so it was just very subtle. And then just glue all of that on. And then I'm just going to cut off the excess on either side. And then I had this little heart. It's like a really tiny heart, and I'm just going to antique wax that. So I just had some on a baby wipe, and then I am just going to wipe off all the excess. And then I'm going to glue that right to the front of this little cup. And once I had that all set, I'm going to glue this little cup right to the center bottom of this frame. So I'm just going to kind of leave a little bit of room at the bottom and then glue it in. So once I had that all glued in, I'm going to take some Spanish moss and fill up my little cup. And then I'm going to add some greenery and some florals. I got this greenery and the florals at Hobby Lobby. The greenery is from the greenery section, and the little roses. They are from the His and Her collection from the wedding section of Hobby Lobby. And it was just a tiny pick, and I just cut off the little roses off of that. And now I'm just going to kind of arrange this how I want it to look. Just popping these in, and then I kind of tack glued them in place afterwards. And I think this turned out so super cute. I love the shabby chic look of it. I love the look that this could be left out year round. I think it has a very romantic and spring vibe. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. And as always, don't forget to spread the chaos.